Our son Philip died 5.5 years ago. Phil was the youngest of our 4 sons. He was 23 years old. He was still living at home with us. We'd all just spent Christmas together, had a very happy Christmas. And then 3 days later, on the Sunday morning, Phil went to his the church he normally attends. We don't go to Phil's church, we go to another one, so we weren't at the service. He was absolutely fine beforehand. We said goodbye as we normally did, 10:30, said bye, see you lunchtime. And before the service, apparently he was laughing and joking with friends at church. And then during the service, it was about halfway through, a hymn was announced. Phil was standing in the front row. He stood up to sing as normal, but before they'd actually started to sing the hymn, he suddenly collapsed and fell to the floor and apparently died instantly. A doctor came forward who was in the congregation straight away, tried to get him back, and the paramedics were there very quickly, but there was nothing they could do. We were very, very shocked. He'd always seemed very fit and healthy. He did a lot of sport, went to the gym regularly, careful about what he ate and so on. But being fit was very important to Phil. We were very worried about 7 years beforehand, because Phil had had just 2 little episodes of heart palpitations, only lasting about 5 minutes, perhaps 10, possibly 5 minutes. It didn't bother him, but he mentioned it to us, and we were very worried about this because my brother-in-law had died when he was younger, quite suddenly, of a heart arrhythmia. So we were worried about Phil. The difference, though, was that my husband's brother had a lot of symptoms beforehand, and Phil seemed fine. But anyway, we certainly had Phil checked at our local hospital, and we had a second opinion from Guy's, and they said no, there was nothing wrong, nothing to worry about. They did say come back if there's any more problems, but there weren't any more problems. And Phil went on normally for 7 years, playing sport, and was very particularly healthy. So when he suddenly collapsed and died like that, it was a terrible shock. It was the last thing we were expecting, and we'd almost forgotten about the little incident 7 years beforehand. The fact we'd been told that he was fine left us totally unprepared. Well, when it happened, quite honestly, I just felt that my world had come to an end. I'd always known, and I used to say to the children sometimes jokingly, when they got older, they'd be doing things like they'd be in the car or different things. I used to say, no, be careful. I was perhaps sometimes a bit overprotective, and they used to sort of say, oh, well, it's our life. And I used to say, no, it's not just your life, because if anything happens to any of you, I'll never get over it to the day I die. And when it happened, I knew that that would be the case, that I'd never get over it. And I know I shall never get over it. I think now I've learnt to live with it. But there's always that sadness there. And I think the same applies to my husband, and there's always this awful sense that Phil should still be with us. On the other hand, we have tried to make sure that good things have come out of it. Phil was a very positive person, a very caring person. So we have got involved in Cry, which has been good, and some other charities involving children and so on. So we feel that good things have come out of this. So I can't pretend it makes up for it, because there is always this sadness there. But as I say, so there are good things which have come out of it, and we're grateful for that. Phil, well, the first thing that was going to happen, Phil was about to get engaged to his, long-term girlfriend. She'd been girlfriend for about 2 or 3 years, Sam, and they were thinking of getting engaged. Sam was completely devastated when it happened. She was there when Phil died. Found it very difficult to come to terms with it. I remember we went shopping in Sainsbury's afterwards before Phil's funeral, well, his Thanksgiving service we called it, and Sam particularly wanted food that afterwards that Phil would have liked, and she said to me in Sainsbury's, she said, I thought about now I'd be shopping for our engagement party. She said it's just the worst nightmare that could have happened to her. So that was one thing that yeah, they would have got married in about, I think they're thinking getting married in about 18 months, something like that, a year, 18 months. Phil he'd done a degree in maths at Warwick University, and he was then training to be an accountant. He was working for the German engineering firm Henkel, and he was nearly through his accountancy training. He would have been qualified in just over the year, so he was enjoying the work, and that's what he was looking forward to doing. He had plans where they were going to live. They wanted to live not too far away from us here, and had plans for the future. He wanted to travel and so on. He had lots of friends. He's involved in youth club work at his church, and as I say, particularly enjoyed sport, all those sort of things. So life really was looking pretty good for him as regards the future.